The first time Commander Saralith of the Virex Union heard human laughter on a battlefield, she assumed her translator had malfunctioned. Explosions tore through the ruined cityscape of Karen 9, turning steel towers into falling skeletons. Plasma fire streaked across the sky. Sirens wailed. Soldiers screamed orders and death cries in a dozen alien tongues. And yet, there it was. Laughter. Not the hysterical kind. Not the broken sound of madness. But something light. Almost playful. Saralith ducked behind a shattered transport hull as enemy fire scorched the air above her crested helm. Her compound eyes flicked toward the source. A squad of humans, Terran Expeditionary Forces, were advancing alongside her unit, weapons raised, movements precise and disciplined. One of them had just cracked a joke. "Hey, Carter," a male human shouted over the chaos, firing his rifle with calm accuracy. "If we survive this, drinks are on you." Again. Another human, taller, scarred, unmistakably female, snorted. "Bold of you to assume I'm paying for anything after you missed that shot." They laughed. Saralith stared. They are under active bombardment, she thought, incredulous. Their mortality rate is statistically unacceptable. Why are they joking? She had fought alongside dozens of species. The insectoid Kaith became silent. The crystalline Olari entered meditative combat states. Her own people, the Virex, fought with cold, ritualistic focus. Humor had no place in war. And yet the humans joked like this was a competitive sport. Then it got worse. As the squad advanced, one of the humans, Carter apparently, glanced at the scarred woman and said, "You know, Lieutenant, if this city weren't on fire, I'd say this is the most romantic place we've ever been." She rolled her eyes. "Flirting during an invasion? Really?" "Hey," he replied, ducking as debris rained down, "near-death experiences bring people closer." She smiled. Actually smiled. Saralith felt something in her chest tighten. Are they courting? In battle? The Virex Union had requested human assistance reluctantly. Humans were new to the galactic stage, volatile and unpredictable. Their reputation was unsettling, fearless, stubborn, and alarmingly adaptable. They had survived wars that should have erased them, endured environments considered uninhabitable, and somehow maintained morale through practices most species found illogical. Like joking in combat. Karen 9 was a joint operation. Virex Tactical Command paired with human ground forces to repel a rogue coalition of mercenary fleets. The enemy had entrenched themselves in the planet's capital, turning civilians into shields and the city into a death trap. Saralith had been confident in her strategies. She had not accounted for humans being like this. As they pushed deeper into the city, her unit paused to regroup in the ruins of a transit station. Smoke hung thick in the air. Medics worked quickly, patching wounds, administering stimulants. And still, humans talked. One was humming softly as he reloaded. Another teased a wounded comrade about owing her dinner. The scarred lieutenant, Lieutenant Mara Carter, Saralith learned, leaned against a pillar, blood streaking her armor, and bantered with her squad as if they were in a mess hall. Saralith approached her cautiously. "Lieutenant Carter," she said, her voice clicking softly through her mandibles. "May I ask you a cultural question?" Carter looked up, eyes sharp but amused. "Sure, Commander. Long as it's not about human cooking. That's classified." Saralith hesitated. "Why do your soldiers engage in humor and interpersonal bonding behaviors during active combat?" Carter blinked then laughed. "Oh, that." She gestured to her squad. "Keeps us human." Saralith's translator struggled. "You are already human." "Yeah," Carter said softer now. "But war tries real hard to take that away." Before Saralith could respond, enemy fire erupted again. The station shook. Carter snapped back into motion instantly. "Showtime," she said cheerfully. "Let's dance." Hours blurred together. Street fighting. Ambushes. Narrow escapes. Through it all, the humans remained the same, focused, lethal, and inexplicably lighthearted. Saralith watched them closely. When a human fell, the others grieved, but briefly. They mourned, then pressed on, carrying memories like fuel rather than chains. They spoke the fallen's names, joked about what they would have said, promised to tell their stories later. Death did not silence them. During a lull in combat, as they fortified a captured plaza, Saralith found herself beside Carter again. The human lieutenant was cleaning her weapon, movements practiced and calm. "You risk emotional compromise," Saralith said carefully. "Attachment reduces combat efficiency." Carter glanced up. "You think so?" "Yes." "Emotional loss destabilizes command." Carter considered this. "Maybe. Or maybe it gives us something worth fighting for." She tapped her chest plate. "Fear tells you when to run. Love tells you when not to." Saralith absorbed that silently. Moments later, Carter added with a grin, "Also, flirting annoys the hell out of the enemy when they realize they can't break us." As if on cue, an enemy broadcast crackled over open comms, furious, confused shouts about unstable primates and psychological warfare. Carter winked. "See? Tactical advantage." The turning point came on the third day. Enemy forces launched a desperate counteroffensive, overwhelming Allied positions. Communications fractured. Units were scattered. Saralith's command post took a direct hit, burying her under debris and shrapnel. Pain flared. Her limbs refused to move. Darkness crept in. She expected death. Instead, she heard a familiar voice. "Hey, Commander," Carter said, breathless but steady. "Gonna need you to stay awake for me." Hands, strong, warm, cleared rubble from Saralith's crushed armor. Carter's face hovered above hers, smeared with ash and blood. "Why are you here?" Saralith rasped. "You should retreat." Carter smiled faintly. "Nah. You're part of the team." Enemy fire thundered nearby. Carter worked fast, injecting pain suppressants, sealing wounds. "Listen," Carter said quietly. "If we get out of this, you owe me a drink." Saralith's vision blurred. "Is this another joke?" "Half," Carter replied. "Other half is hope." Saralith clung to that word as unconsciousness claimed her. She awoke aboard a medical cruiser in orbit. The battle for Karen 9 was over. Victory. Human and Virex forces had pushed back the enemy in a coordinated counterstrike fueled by stubborn refusal to break. Casualties were heavy, but survival rates exceeded projections. Humans had once again defied expectations. Carter visited her recovery chamber later, arm in a sling, grin intact. "Hey," she said. "You made it." Saralith studied her. "You risked your life unnecessarily." Carter shrugged. "That's war." "No," Saralith said slowly. "That is humanity." Carter raised an eyebrow. Saralith continued. "Your species faces annihilation with humor. You bond under fire. You flirt while death watches. This should weaken you." She met Carter's gaze. "Instead, it makes you terrifying." Carter laughed softly. "Yeah, we get that a lot." After a pause, Saralith added, "Teach me." Carter blinked. "Teach you what?" "This, human behavior. Humor. Emotional resilience. Flirting if necessary." Carter grinned wide. "Careful, Commander. That's how it starts." Months later, at a diplomatic summit, Saralith stood before the Galactic Council. Reports of the Karen 9 campaign had spread. Footage of humans laughing under fire circulated across the networks. Analysts struggled to explain it. Saralith did not. Instead, she spoke plainly. "Humans do not joke because they are careless," she said. "They joke because they refuse to surrender their identity to war. They flirt because they assert life in the face of death." She paused. "That is why they endure." The council chamber was silent. Somewhere in the crowd, a human delegate leaned over to another and whispered something. Laughter followed. Saralith felt an unfamiliar sensation and realized, belatedly, that she was smiling. For the first time she understood. War tested strength. But humanity's greatest weapon was not firepower. It was the audacity to laugh, love, and flirt, even while the universe burned. And that, Saralith knew, was why the galaxy would never defeat them.